So feelings, emotions, why do we have them? How do we mostly deal with feelings, with emotions, or not deal with feelings and emotions? A lot of times we were taught not to be weak, not to cry, not to pay attention to the feelings, emotions, and just get over it, get over yourself. So these are messages that also are very harmful to most of us in our later evolution. So it's very important to let the emotions flow.
Experiment with having them yourselves, get comfortable with having them, give yourself permission to have them, and you'll naturally, it takes place, but this happens over time. Have feelings, have emotions, express them, and be unattached to what comes. We're still okay. Our vessel is safe. And so even if there's storms and rough waters, and we can be okay. So we're all here to just have the emotions, honor ourselves by having them.
So then, of course, you start to feel like, okay, I should be not expressing emotions. Okay, got it. So your system gets wired to do that. As you get older in life, that doesn't really work, especially in the relationships. And relationships, as we spoke about, are pretty much in everything.
The only way to be safe from expressing your emotions would be to avoid situations in which emotions come up. So you're going to have to avoid everything. You're going to hide because you're projecting that that's going to be the outcome. So anything that builds up, it's going to build up, create pressure. And whatever that source of the buildup is going to flood the system.
The water flow starts to flow through eyes. And this is, again, you can know for that moment that the person is in their astral body, they're in their feeling, in their emotion, in the moment. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Awaken Aware podcast. Today, Tammy and I are going to go over understanding your astral body, which is basically your emotions and your feelings. And how does that relate to our way of being in life, in our everyday interactions with our loved ones, within our work, and within relation to ourself? And when we talk about astral body, we're really talking about feelings, emotions, and being in the flow of life. Then when we also talk about emotions and the astral body, we can relate that to the element of water. Obviously, when we are being emotional, typically we tear up and letting the waters allow the fluids within the body to release. That release creates a connection to the astral body center, which is the heart space. And I want to make sure we touch on the importance of letting yourself feel the feelings, feel the emotions that come through you, so they don't end up being stuck in your physical body, which then, of course, creates illness and issues of all sorts. And without any further ado, let me welcome Tammy back to the podcast and let us get started. Welcome back, beautiful souls, curious minds. It's great to have you back to Awaken Aware podcast. And here again with me is Tammy. Thank you so much for being here. Always good to be here with you and dip into these crazy themes that we sometimes get into, but maybe not crazy, but just deeply meaningful. And we're going to talk about the emotions and feelings, which also, if for some of you that might not know, we refer to as the astral body. So I want to take you into the bit of a rabbit hole, perhaps, but we'll see how that goes, about astral body's ability. And just on a side note, if we talk about the main three bodies that we recognize within our being, the physicality that we have, the shell, actually, the meat suit, then there is the next layer. Think of it as like a Russian doll. Okay, so if you have a layer within a layer within a layer, and then sometimes people refer to this as a auric field, right? So you have the layers around you. So the next thing that comes outside, that's outside of your physical body, is the astral body, which is your feelings or emotions. And then the next layer is the mental body. So the mental body is like the gatekeeper, like the guard. The mind is the whatever passes through it, lets the mind lets through, goes through the astral body, and then it hits the physical body. So it's a beautiful connection in these three bodies, and then there's also a few other body layers after that. So the etheric body, and what celestial body, I think, and whatever else. And so I wanted to start today with the one kind of in the middle, and that's the astral body. So feelings, emotions, why do we have them? How do we mostly deal with feelings with emotions or not deal with feelings and emotions? A lot of times we were taught not to be weak, not to cry, not to pay attention to the feelings, emotions, and just get through it. Just get over it, get over yourself. So these are messages that also are very harmful to most of us in our later evolution. And basically being able to let yourself feel the feelings, feel the emotions is the way to go. At least I think it's very important to let the emotions flow. So this is what it brings me to again to the next point is that emotions are often equated to water. As you know, we cry and there goes the waters, right? And water is one of the four or five main elements that this world is comprised of. And a super important element has consciousness, all the elements do. And water, especially, there was a lot of cool research done. I will link below by Veda Austin. If you guys haven't heard of her before, definitely check her out. There's a lot to be learned about water. We'll dip into that a little bit later. At this point, I want to get into the conversation with Tammy because I'm very curious with what she has to say about feelings, emotions not being felt oftentimes and how important that is. All right.
How many hours do we have?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. As you were speaking, I agree 100%. Um, it's as you were saying for men, especially, it's you're weak or there's something wrong, you're flawed somehow. And also the other message that can come is you're bad because of them. You're wrong because of them. There's something wrong within you for emotions that you're having. And if that belief lands and sticks with us, then life becomes a our mind needs to assess. We have a feeling, and then it goes into this process of, well, am I allowed to have it? What's going to happen to me? So the scenarios come of what's going to happen just because you're having it, and that all happens before you even express it outward. So by the time it comes out, it's weighted with all of the fears of what might happen. And the heartbreaking part of that is perhaps you would have been received well, but it's all, we can go back to the conditioning of whatever the conditioning was, that we were wrong, we were bad, you're weak, you're whatever. That is going to, if that imprint is left, then that's going to be the energy in which you receive anything that comes back. So love can come back to you, but we can't receive what we don't already offer ourselves. So if we think of everything in terms of this is our vessel, our bodies, our human bodies, that vessel is what we prepare by transforming any negative beliefs in these things, this life that we live, of things that come to us that we transform. That creates a vessel that is able to have feelings, have emotions, express them, and be unattached to what comes. We're still okay. Our vessel is safe. And so even if there's storms and rough waters and everything, we can be okay. But those, whatever the conditions are that we were told by, again, and as we've said before, anybody that imprinted those on us, they're only imprinting that on us because most likely they've been told that. So they're if especially if it's parents, elders, people of, caregivers in our lives, their core reason is to protect us. So if they were taught that emotions are bad, then and they didn't learn how to process them through their own lives, they're going to try to protect you by no, shh, don't say that, stay quiet, no, don't go out in the world and say that because you might get hurt like I got hurt. So now we have, things that are developed. So we're all here to just have the emotions, honor ourselves by having them, leave out the attachments, and just experiment with having them yourselves, get comfortable with having them, give yourselves permission to have them, and you'll naturally, like, it takes place, but this happens over time,
I love that you're saying this because the expression is really where we oftentimes get stuck. This is again,
yeah.
you don't have
Mhm.
permission to cry. You don't have
Mhm.
permission by someone,
Yeah.
like you said, parents or teachers or whoever, to just express emotion no
Right.
matter what you do, right? So then,
Yeah.
of course, you start to feel like, okay, I should be not expressing emotions. Okay, got it. So your system gets wired to do that. So obviously, as you get older in life, that doesn't really work, especially in the relationships. And
Mhm.
relationships, as we spoke about, are pretty much in everything. You're relating to yourself,
Mhm.
you're relating to your partner, you're relating to your kids,
Mhm.
to your mother, father, teachers, whoever.
Yeah.
And so that's everywhere in your life, basically. So if you're not allowing yourself to express the emotion that comes, you are basically allowing that emotion to stay stuck in your physical body. And then because the emotion doesn't have an escape, doesn't have anywhere to go. So
Mhm.
as I was talking about the layers, the mind has let through whatever the meaning that you gave to event that happened. Now you
Mhm.
experience the emotion of whatever is happening.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
now, because you've already experiencing it through emotion, now it's gotten into the body. Okay. So if you in the body, the emotions are basically, this was measured by Dr. Joe Dispenza's team. I believe the
Mhm.
emotion exists
Mhm.
for 90 seconds. So any emotion will last for about 90 seconds. After that, if you still feeling emotional, you are now attached to this emotion and you're started to perpetuate the emotion. So if you watch children when they throw a tantrum,
Mhm.
it lasts literally minute and a half or 2 minutes in max typically, and they're done crying, they're moving on. Now, once the kids get older and the parents are telling them what they should or shouldn't do, they will not express themselves or they will over express themselves.
Mhm.
So, but the default is somewhere around the minute and a half or so for the emotion to last. So, and
Mhm.
Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about like if you have emotion that's longer than about 90 seconds, you're faking it. And it's like a way to
Uh,
look at it.
yeah.
But being
Mhm.
aware that that's what's happening is that you have now created attachment in your mind and created a continuous loop. If this is not happening, then I'm unsafe. If that's still not
Mhm.
happening, then I'm unsafe. And you just like keep going around, which is where we get stuck.
Yeah.
And so each emotion sticks to a different parts of the body depending on what it is about
Mhm.
and what emotion it is. So, like in Chinese medicine, for instance, there is a whole system around this where each organ is holding certain emotions. It's like the kidneys are holding the fear, I believe.
Yes.
The stomach holds worry and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of emotions that are held within the body. And so a way
Mhm.
to let them pass, to process them, is to
Mhm.
express them, as you were saying, which is again back to what you were saying, something that we were not allowed to do.
Yeah.
So, writing a new program into your brain right now as we are speaking, I'm
Mhm.
allowed to express my emotions, my feelings. And not only am I allowed, that's the default. That's what happens. It's imagine if you stop the current of the
Mhm.
water has nowhere else to move. Okay? So, same for emotion. If you stop the emotion, it has nowhere else to move. It has to stay inside. And if it stays inside over a longer period of time, you're not dealing with this emotion, you're not letting it to be expressed, you're not letting yourself be
Mhm.
heard some way,
Mhm.
that's going to fester and that's going to develop into the disease. So
Yeah.
again, if you find yourself that you have perhaps not a great health, this is now gone into the physical body, out of the through the mental, through the astral, into the physical body. The way to undo that physical issue, oftentimes, is to understand that why you did that. So, in a mental body, to have your mind to help you, and then feel those feelings, feel those emotions within you. allow them to be processed. Once they're processed, they can leave. So, how does that feel to you?
Yes. I want to point to an outcome of not expressing. So if I'm working with someone or a friend or a client and this comes up, it's, I don't know, high percentage of the time they're avoidant. And so it'll be, oh, my spouse or people tell me that I'm avoidant. I avoid things. Okay. If I backtrack that, it's sourced by this. If you're programming to stop the emotion, well, the only way to be safe from expressing your emotions would be to avoid situations in which emotions come up. So, uh, you're, I mean, you're going to have to avoid everything. You're going to hide because you're projecting that that's going to be the outcome.
Mhm.
And I love you talking about like it building up in the body. And what that makes me think of is, so anything that builds up, it's going to build up, build up, build up, create pressure.
Mhm.
And whatever that source of the buildup is going to flood the system. So whatever emotion it is that's being held and that's pulling up, because like attracts like. So once that's there, more will has to come to it. It's law of attraction. It has to. That's where your focus is. So when that floods, the body, our whole system is flooded with that emotion that could have been a single conversation, a single thought of something. It doesn't take much to build up and then flood, and it's going to cause problems. One of my, I believe that everything comes to us through our body that we need to pay attention to. And it's usually through a pain, an ailment, a disease, a sick, something. For me, it was my brain. So I have Arnold-Chiari malformation. One of the things that happens, and one of the first tests that they did was, I think it's called a CRV. It's a really long MRI, but it's basically a movie that shows them the spinal fluid traveling. What happens is the cerebral tonsils, they grow, they block the fluid. They form a syrinx on the spine. They can tell by when they see that, then they can tell how long, how much, the severity. It's one of the ways they diagnose. But the point is it's being blocked. So anything that's blocked, it has to pool up somewhere, and that's going to create pressure. In this case, it's vertigo, it's pressure in the brain. You're dizzy, you're lightheaded all the time. You don't have balance, you're very wobbly all over. Your vision, your hear, everything. It affects every sense of the body. So that's a specific thing, but that's essentially what's happening. And so for me, I like to have things to relate to, but the 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 buildup symptom is always, in my experience, it's what people present with. They come to someone, a mindset coach, they come to sit with someone because of the outcome, because of the symptom that they're having. And it's, when it's avoidant, it's okay, what are you avoiding? Okay, why? Well, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm not supposed to. So it's blocking everything that naturally wants to come out of us. And so one of the first exercises I start with, or suggestions, is, of course, loving patience, kindness with yourself, but just looking at it and playing it forward, giving yourself permission, to get safe. Trust yourself, to have discernment. Some people and situations are not safe to share certain things. Yes, there are certain emotions that are not safe, healthy, productive to share in some spaces. 100%. But that discernment, that knowing comes from trust of self. And you get that trust of self by tuning in and listening to yourself. And you can't listen to what you don't speak or acknowledge. And if we bury it, it's going to cause a problem. And so you're better to just, if you can start to notice things and sit with them, you're not going to find out that you're safe or that you'll be heard until you speak. Like, I'm sorry, there's no way to go out there and play it all out first and then, like, oh, okay, now I know, I just got the message that it's going to be okay, the outcome's going to be okay there, so okay, I'll go ahead and do it. You got to do it, and you got to trust gently.
Yeah, and that's typically not super easy to do, especially the trusting part, because of course the ego is ever so, or the mind is ever so cautious, obviously, being a guardian of the system of our being.
Yeah.
So it's all about caution.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the feelings and emotions are all about just experiencing the flow.
Mm.
So the if I want to point out that having astral body, much like mental body, much like physical body, they're gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So the to have the ability to experience life with the emotions, with the feelings, is equally important as much as your ability to think, as your ability to process a thought, as your ability to move your physical body. It's all the same. So why should we go into denying our emotional experience? Doesn't make any sense, right? So no matter how you were taught, that basically needs to come off today. That band-aid and that wall, that heart wall, whatever you want to call it, needs to come off today. Starting to allowing yourself feel the feelings, feel the emotions, especially because not only are you protecting your system with of negative emotions, you are
Mm-hmm.
blocking yourself from experiencing positive emotions as well. So all emotions basically are being held, again,
Mm-hmm.
held in the body. Okay, so especially the negative ones are being held in the body, which is what creates a havoc on the physical body. So another thing around the emotions and expressing an emotional state that you're in is to understand that everything in this world that we experience has duality, polarity. In that sense, then, if you're experiencing a negative emotion, there has to be something positive about it as well at that same time, simply because of that rule of polarity that we're experiencing in this lifetime. And vice versa. You could also find that when you are experiencing positive emotion, somewhere there also is lying the reason that you're able to experience that positive emotion is somewhere you have experienced negative emotion of the same coin, different side kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, if we are stopping ourselves from experiencing grief, for instance, we are probably not going to be able to feel grateful for things because we're holding on to that grief. If you experience the grief and you allow yourself to miss something or someone, that perception allows us to then feel the gratitude for this person perhaps that we feel we're missing and or whatever that that has happened in our life that let's say grief oftentimes is experienced typically around a passing of a person that you have dearly loved, whether they're leaving physically, not there anymore, or they actually pass, cross over.
Mm-hmm.
Now that grief can be taken in as gratitude. And I would love for Tammy to unravel this a little bit, kind of see what it feels like to you regarding these opposite sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm. The grace in gratitude holds you in the grief.
That was profound. Say it again, please.
The grace within the gratitude holds you in the experience of the grief. We don't have to grieve perfectly to then be offered grace and gratitude. The grace and gratitude come first to support you in the grief.
Mhm.
Grace and gratitude is a way of being that is always there. More so, the more that we embrace it, embody it, grief is going to come, period.
Mhm.
Sometimes often, sometimes once every 20 years,
Mhm.
sometimes for 5 weeks straight, there's something grief pointed. We don't know that, nor should we. We don't want to know that. If we knew when everything was going to come, we would never expand and we would never have grace and gratitude because we wouldn't need it. It's a way of being. The way that I am in gratitude and the way that I embody it and live this way is the pillow that my head was on last night, the sleep that I got, whether it was for 2 hours or 10, the pen that I use to write that becomes the books that I write that I want to share love with people, the water in my, that I have a glass that I can pour. Gratitude is in the mundane, that is the space that the masterpieces are built in. That's what it is, and it's simply a choice. So I went through a I was in a car crash. It was a horrific experience for me, but it was so beautiful because I learned so much about myself. And I bring this up because as I'm driving to go to sit and, go to the courtrooms and be attacked as if I was a villain and have people tear my life apart and try to make me a villain so that they don't get in trouble. It was just insane to me. It was a worst case scenario for me, just personally. It's fear and nobody's looking out for me. I'm all by myself here with all these people, like all of that. It was a completely undesirable situation.
Mhm.
However, I woke up in the morning extra early on the day that I have to go, and I did nothing except read, watch comedies on TV, listen, whatever I could to be in a state of happiness because I didn't have to be in that experience until I was sitting at that desk, which lasted, deposition was 7 hours long. But that's only 7 hours in one day. So my point is that for those 7 hours, yeah, it was awful and it was all of that. It was all the stuff. Okay. It was a miserable experience. Yeah, it was. But on the way there and on the way home and the days after, I'm not in that courtroom. So yes, it went on, but it taught me patience and it taught me like, look, the other people, they're just trying not to get sued. Okay. And their lawyers they're just doing their job. They're not attacking me personally. They're just doing their jobs because they need to win the case because the client's paying them to win a case for them that are getting like all of it. So whatever we're in, that's grace. Grace and gratitude that hey, yeah, I'm injured. Yeah, it caused a lot of setbacks, but I have access to things I can think and feel however I choose to think and feel. So
Mhm.
those 7 hours don't have to turn into 7 years of misery. It can stay there. But it's the grace and the gratitude is what produced my ability to have that mindset. I didn't have that mindset because I'm special somehow. And I've been given some ability to like feel this way. It's a choice of grace and gratitude. It's not about being better or more skilled or higher or something or more evolved. No, it has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with my choice of grace and gratitude for all the things that are okay and that are going right. I'm driving myself there. I'm walking. Yeah, it's a little rickety, but I'm walking. I'm upright. I'm speaking. Like things could be worse. And I know we throw that around a lot like, oh, things could be worse. Well, they could be. And again, I know it's like every conversation I ever have, but life is here for us. I came out of it with more grace and gratitude because I had grace and gratitude in it. It was all here for me. I am stronger, wiser, and I am more loving because of it. Because if we put grace and gratitude in, we are more loving. That creates more love within us. So that means more love is going to come out of us. So whatever we, put out, that's, we're all ripples of something. So yeah, I feel like I just went off on I don't even know if I went way off of what we're trying to talk about or not.
I love that. Again, so grief, experiencing, truly allowing yourself experience the grief, whatever it's coming from. It is an emotion that comes, yes, the emotions come and go, just like feelings, whatever, even
Mhm.
thoughts, the thought comes and then thought goes. So you can stick to the thought, you can stick to the emotion, you can stick to a feeling, but in the end, it's a flow that you're working on or making yourself available for to allowing this flow, allow this current. You're making yourself available to allow this flow. So you're a
Mhm.
participant in your life and you're experiencing as you go. And so again,
Mhm.
I want to say we experience as we go because
I know
I do
I
too.
do the you all the time too. I
Yeah,
think it comes to talking to clients or students. It's you.
right,
You're addressing someone, and
right.
I feel like I'm saying you to whoever's listening if it lands. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
trying to be, and in reference to the current and the flow that you're speaking of.
Yeah.
So to me, like grace and gratitude is smooth waters.
Mm,
Anger and defiance and resistance and attacking back and yeah, but the justice, I want justice. Well, sometimes justice comes through the peace that you have in gratitude, not in winning a battle. Maybe you don't have to fight any battle at all, but the
mm,
grace and dignity, that's going to keep that current moving. It's still
mm-hmm,
moving, but it's
mm-hmm,
going to be smoother.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And this brings me into the next part of this talk that I wanted to get to. So, in the men's world, I feel there's a lot of, again, logics, thinking,
Mhm.
protection, make sure things make sense, don't get emotional, and all that stuff. In women's world, it tends to be almost the opposite, oftentimes,
Mhm.
not always, either way, but tends to be a lot of emotion, less kind of contemplating thinking. Neither really is good or bad, but both are correct. And I want people to understand that because we have been gifted with the mental body, because we have been gifted with astral body, a physical body,
Mhm.
these gifts are to be utilized. These gifts are not to be ignored. And then for the male population out there, there's nothing like allowing yourself to hear, truly hear, and experience what your partner is experiencing.
Mhm.
Allow yourself be in that space with them, because that's all. If partner comes home, let's say for man wife or for woman wife, whatever, doesn't matter to me, but the woman comes home and is venting about something. Do your best to listen, stay there, and say, I get you, let me hold you, I see what you're feeling. Listen to them, basically. Just acknowledge their reality. This
Mhm.
is what they want, this is what they need at that moment. They just need to process that emotion. Similarly, for women on the opposite end, if we just go with the male to female, female to male kind of relationships for a moment, is that
Mhm.
the masculine maybe or feminine rather versus men or women, female or male. Feminine also listening to masculine, what they're logically going through, and allow them to see the importance of their idea or their thought that is likely to be something around making a life somehow better or improving something or protecting something, because that's again the masculine's primary
Mhm.
prerogative in life. And so for female, it's creating this nest, creating this receiving end of relationship or partnership to
Mhm.
make the male safe, feel safe, basically. So male wants to feel safe, women wants to feel safe. Really, actually, people want to feel safe. Let me
Mhm.
say it that way.
Yes.
So we all want to feel
Yeah.
safe. And the
Right.
reason that we oftentimes end up suppressing these especially negative emotions and not expressing them is that there is feeling of unsafety within us somewhere. So with the masculine to feminine, And knowing that both really want to feel safety and not be judged, basically. Have a home where you can express yourself.
Mhm.
What can we do in our lives to create such environment from your perspective? Tammy, you have obviously seen, interacted with many of your
Mhm.
clients about this kind of stuff. So what have you noticed for yourself, and what can, average
Mhm.
person do with this kind of a situation?
Yeah. Well, it all starts with us. So someone says, we can't seem to communicate. And so if we look at ourselves first, because if there are patterns of there's conditions of don't talk about things, keep it to yourself, you won't be accepted. If that hasn't been healed within us in our own makeup, then we are going to bring that to the person we're with. This goes for both masculine, feminine. It goes for friendships. It goes for any two humans that are connecting on an emotional, intimate level, whether it's husband, wife, whatever it is. If we haven't done that and cleaned up within us to a point of being comfortable and confident to speak the truth, meaning say what we feel, mean what we say, we're going to project on whoever's in front of us. We're going to assume if we're holding back and not communicating because we're afraid, we are making that person the same as wherever it all started. And so that person now is holding the burden of your pain from wherever it began. And they're not even, they might be the best listener out there. And the same goes for the other. If you bring something to them and they can't receive it, same thing. Like whether we're the one speaking it or the receiver of it, it doesn't really matter. If we haven't cleaned up wherever we have patterns of conditions that block us from speaking genuinely, authentically, then we're not going to have real, authentic relationships. And it's not the partner. If we aren't authentic, we aren't going to have authentic relationships. Period. At some point, you're going to have to take that step and form friendships and do things. And yeah, it might happen. Somebody else might be in a lot of pain and they might, go tell your secrets, or they might, whatever. Yes, of course it could happen. But if you are secure and confident and loving towards every part of you that you're going to display out, then it might sting a little bit, but it's not going to be a cut. It's not going to be a wound, even. It's going to be like, okay, yeah, well, that sucks that happened, but okay. And then we move on. But we're not taken down by it and we don't close up further. So if you get the courage and you put yourself out there and you go and you talk about the thing, you talk about the thing that might destroy you if it's not received right. You're afraid. You're like, oh God, I really want to open up and I really want to do it, and you catch yourself. That's when you go in and look further. So rather than looking like, oh, my partner or my friend, they just can't understand me, they don't listen, I just needed, then you're frustrated and you're blaming and you're pointing at someone else. My suggestion is that all of us that are used that I'm talking to, is that we go and look, okay, where is that? Did this person that I really want to communicate with, but I'm afraid to, is it true? Have they ever disrespected me? Have they ever dishonored me in some way? Have they ever shown me that they really don't care and they're not concerned with my well-being? Is that true anywhere? If it is, okay, well, then there's other conversations that you need to have, and maybe some boundaries need to be up, and okay. But if they haven't, then look within. Go and sit with it the same way you would want them to sit with it. So if I'm asking something of someone else and I really want them to receive me and I have something important that I want to share and I feel a need to have it shared and I want this person to get me and understand me and I'm afraid to. When I look at that fear within myself, I am going to do it in the same way that I want them to receive me. So I'm giving myself what I'm so afraid I won't get from them. And when you do that, the fear of them not giving it to us, it's not there anymore. The fear is always only within us because nobody can make us feel anything. They can't. That's a cop out. Well, they did it. They made me this way. They made me feel this way because they did this. And then the list comes out. Here's all the stuff that they did. And
Hmm.
maybe they did do some stuff that's not relevant what they did or didn't do. What's relevant is how we feel. And whatever we feel is our responsibility. It is not on anybody else. That they gave it to us and it's not on anybody to fix it. So if we sit with it and offer that love to ourselves, then the fear goes away because there's nothing to fear.
I love that. It's so simple and so true, so profound that I we should probably talk about this for another 3 hours. Maybe not. Um, but really,
Yeah.
just what you said
Yeah.
is like
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to why you are wanting, let's say, a relationship. Where in within
Mm-hmm.
yourself are you not loving yourself that you feel
Mm-hmm.
to feel that you want to fill that hole, that void, right?
Right.
So in that sense, then, if you have given yourself that which you want from someone else to give you,
Mm-hmm.
you are again, like you said, the fear disappears, is not there anymore because you
Mm-hmm.
realize you are capable of doing that for yourself. And you are thus not being dependent on anything, anyone else, which is again very freeing. The
Yeah.
experience that you will receive is pure freedom feeling, which
Mm-hmm.
brings me
Yeah.
again to the one of the quotes from Peter Crone, speaking of emotions, is that most people are trying to feel better rather than getting better at feeling.
Yeah.
And again, it's so profound because
Mm-hmm.
if we weren't avoiding the feelings, the emotions that come, we would be expressing them. We would be allowing that flow to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't get stuck. We
No.
wouldn't
Right.
feel
Yeah.
the pressure that we're building in this physical, beautiful physical body. It
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be filled with all this pressure if you were letting it flow constantly. Okay. So again, back to water, back to current, even the
Mm-hmm.
finances, like that's a current,
Mm-hmm.
currency, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
all. If we
Yeah.
keeping it in flow, I should be one to talk about that
Yeah.
uh, for myself. Maybe it'll be another podcast. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so about finances. Anyway, so but come back to this again, it's like feel the feelings that you're experiencing, allow them to pass, and trust that you're going to be provided the next step. Again,
Yeah.
it comes to trusting and understanding, knowing that you are divinely guided, that you are divinely protected. One other thing that
Mm-hmm.
I love that it is really not up to us to get through this life, to
Mm-hmm.
figure something out.
Yeah.
The life has its own way. It's like one of the
Mm-hmm.
ways that he points this out, which I was like light bulb went off for me, is that how much did you have to think this morning when you woke up? Oh, I better pay attention to my digestion. Because when I eat,
Yes.
I have to pay attention to digesting. And so I better pay attention to my breath because if I forget to breathe, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, I'll probably die. And how much do you have to pay attention to your hair growing, to your nails growing,
Yeah.
to your nails growing, to, anything. The body is
Mm-hmm.
just doing it as it goes. You don't have to do it. Same
Yes.
with the flow of feelings and emotions. You don't have to make something happen. You just experience, you be there present with them, experience them, and then
Mm-hmm.
watch them float on by. Literally like you're watching a little pedal on the water
Mm-hmm.
floating and then it comes moves out of your sight and it's gone. Okay? Same way with our emotions.
Yeah.
So think of yourself as though you want to go chase that paddle, and if you lose that paddle, you'll be super upset because the
Yeah.
river's gonna keep taking it, right? But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you could experience all sorts of cool things though on the journey
Mhm.
of chasing the paddle. Granted, right?
Sure.
But let yourself experience the joy of the beautiful view. Let's say the paddle falling out of the water, and then letting it go. Maybe you feel, oh, that was so pretty. I wish I could experience it again. So feel that grief, experience that grief. That was kind of a silly example, but hopefully you get the point.
Sure. Hmm.
So being in this state, when we are in this state of allowing the emotions and feelings be processed in our body, in our physical being, through our mental as well processes, we
Hmm.
are allowing this system to function at its best. And
Yeah.
when that happens, the sickness is not there. It just simply isn't. If it doesn't happen, the sickness is present. So obviously, choice is always yours, so free will.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
would pick the former personally.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's a problem, if we're talking about relationships and we're feeling like there's something lacking, it's the feeler who's lacking because no one is giving you anything. So there's nothing that they can't stop giving you that you think that you had. It's like you're the one that dropped the ball. If the tennis game ends, if you don't volley it, it can't be volleyed back. It doesn't, I mean, can hit the ball against a wall, but everybody knows what I mean.
Sure. Yes.
But it's self responsibility. I say to people, like, are you not worth it to yourself to stay with yourself, like with you, the you that you want somebody else, other people to want to be with, to want to enjoy talking to you. And this shows up for everybody. We can all look at past relationships in all forms to where we kept going to the same place to get something and we're not getting it, the same person. And it's not coming through square peg, round hole. Like, all right, well, let me turn it a little more. Like, it's not ever going to fit. And so it's not about like beating something to death emotionally with conversations and blame and to keep looking. There's something being missed. So stop and look, okay, where am I? What are my thoughts? What are my the programs that I'm running? What are the scenarios that are playing out in my head to where I'm not getting something that I want in response and in commune with something? When you start there, it might be you're just sometimes things just aren't aligned. So a relationship that isn't aligned that needs to end and sever, well, okay, yes, grieve it, sadness, yes, but it you learned what didn't work. I could learn something that I could have done differently that didn't support and hold it up. Maybe I was the leg that fell a little, and maybe like it's always everyone, but we're only responsible for ourselves. And so it's like it's going inward because when you do that, it not only removes you from victimizing yourself and blaming someone else, it stops the flow of expansion and growth for both people.
Mm,
Both people suffer because it's not fair to put the responsibility on someone else for what I'm not willing to give myself, to put that on someone else and say, well, you didn't show up right. You didn't come and behave right or give me what I needed or speak the way I needed you to speak or say the words I needed you to say.
mhm,
Like, here, let me give you the script and this is how I need you to talk to me.
mhm.
Well, I can video myself and talk to myself on a computer. Why do I have another person if I'm just going to tell somebody what to say? Like, I can do that in a journal. So honor the other person, but
Yeah.
if you want them to be open and authentic, well, you have to be too, or else you won't be able to even hear them if they do. You have to be the space for them to come into.
Yeah, claiming responsibility for, beautifully said again. the claiming responsibility for what you do, who you are,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening in life. This is, simple distinction between, am I acting out of, as we spoke about earlier in earlier podcasts, am I spoken from the place of ego or my mind and where I'm worried, or am I actually speaking from place of my soul and the love that is the essence of life?
Mm-hmm.
So simple
Yes.
distinction there is that if you ever feel like you have to defend, calculate, logically think, um, feel like you need to be right and you cannot accept other person's opinion, you are definitely at the state of the ego. It has that's your lens at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a simple way to get out of that lens is to let the soul drive again, is
Mm-hmm.
to go to your heart again. Just
Yeah.
feel the heart, feel the space. We've
Mm-hmm.
done this in one of the other sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and just feel the beat, pause, just sit down, breathe. Feel the breath flow in and out, feel the heartbeat, breathe into the heartbeat, be with it. Really, in that moment, everything starts to shift. Your perspective starts to, you start to realize that, you know what, it doesn't really matter. I don't need to be right. I see that part of myself, meaning the ego part, likes to be right, because then I would feel like we are on the same page, maybe, or
Mm-hmm.
that we are somehow connecting. I don't want to need to be right. It just happens.
Yes.
The ego
Mm-hmm.
wants to be right because that's
Right.
its prerogative. So
Yeah.
if I'm in a partnership, relationship, friendship with someone, I'm talking with another person, as you're saying, I'm interacting with them. The best way for me to love them is to A, understand and love myself, that I don't need anything from them, and to
Mm-hmm.
accept their opinion, no matter how different it is from yours. It is nice to have symbiosis and synchronicity in your the way that you're thinking, and or just a connection with another person. It's really nice to have that. That doesn't happen all the time, and it may happen a lot, but it may not happen all the time. And when
Mm-hmm.
you come across the part of your self, your being, where you feel like you're not connecting with someone, can you respect that their opinion in its current evolution is different from yours? That is expressing reverence for this person's
Mm-hmm.
journey and respecting their perspective. It's not that your perspective is right, it's that you have different one from different vantage point. Imagine you're in college and you have learned all sorts of things by now. And now you tell the little child that's telling you, no, that doesn't work that way because this is the way it works. This is the way the little child knows the world. And
Mm-hmm.
you argue with them just so you're right. The
Yeah.
little child may argue back with you because they're seeing the world that they see. And they don't have all the experience you have from college. They see the world differently. Can you accept that they have that viewpoint? And can you know that you're looking from different point of view? And perhaps take a moment and look at their viewpoint from their perspective for a moment. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you'll learn something.
I would, yeah, you're always going to learn something.
Yeah.
And I would take it to the maybe extreme of when we're in fear of the communicating of the connection and we feel like a need, somebody else isn't meeting a need for us. If we are trying to control them into it with our ego, and by control, I mean you need to believe exactly what I believe, and we have to be like alignment means we have to agree on everything and everything has to be the same and this is the way it is and you have to agree with me because if you don't agree with me that feels really unsafe and then you might leave me if we're different. Maybe, there's love there and you want to be with someone, and but if the ego is leading, it's going to say, well, disagreement or difference is bad. It's misalignment, it's bad. No, no. And if we're trying to control someone into how they respond and control somebody in how they love us,
Mhm.
then they don't ever get a chance to love us. And
Mhm.
their way of loving us might be better than what we're dreaming up in our head. And I point more towards the feminine for this, right? Because we're the dreamers and we're the like, oh my God, and the fairy tales and da, 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 all that. And listen, I live in fairy tale land all day long. But if you allow them to come to you, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you think enough of them and you're welcoming them into your life, well, at the very least, let them show you. Be your genuine self, and then we can let them show us how they love us. But if we put like standards on it, I use this all the time. I just needed him to sit down and listen to me, and I just wanted to talk. I just wanted to sit and have a deep conversation and share how I'm feeling, and just that's it. And he doesn't do that, but comes home with, flowers or a gift. That's how he's showing his love. But she had a different idea of how she wanted love shown. So he could come home with, a tennis bracelet and, a Mercedes parked in the driveway with a bow around it. It doesn't make it wrong. That's just his way of showing it. And if she blocks and then there's just anger and is going to shut off at, nope, he just doesn't get me. He doesn't get me. He should know what I want. That's
Mhm.
another one. He should
Mhm.
know. If he loved me,
Mhm.
he would know. Okay, no, no. That it doesn't have anything to do with how much he loves you. Are you communicating with him? Did you tell him, hey, listen, I got stuff going on. I don't need you to do anything. Like, can we just sit? And don't do it when he just walks through the door and he hasn't finished his day yet and he's still like coming down from a day, and then you want him to sit quietly and lovingly and just really calm and listen to you and curl up with you on the couch and sit cross-legged and talk. Well, just because he can't do it right, like, don't set him up for failure. And it can go both ways. But if we don't set people up for failure by the control, let him, like, take his shoes off, take a shower, whatever, and then talk to him. Like, kind of set the stage, but be open. But if
Mhm.
we're not open in saying what we need, then how can we expect somebody to listen if we haven't told them?
Yeah.
And okay, well, read your mind. Yeah, okay. Well, okay, try it. I mean,
Yeah.
good luck. But like, people aren't supposed to read our minds. And I just think I bring it up as, women sort of and men that are sort of what get confronted with this, because I do think it happens a lot. I mean, in the past, I've thought that too. Like, well, wouldn't he, shouldn't he understand that I feel this way? Like, well, no. And when I sat with it really felt very unfair. And, I was fortunate that I had the presence and I did have conversations, but, they're not supposed to just know.
Mhm.
Like, give it some space to open up and grow, and, don't be so maybe quick to write somebody off as not caring, because maybe they do.
Yeah, yeah, well said. There's definitely a lot to talk about between the energies of the masculine and feminine and the interaction
Yeah.
between them. So
Mhm.
one last thing I wanted to mention also in this talk is how our astral body relates to, as I said before, current in the water and the importance of the water element in this case as we process our lives. Obviously, we touch the heart in sense of feeling the emotion. A lot of times what happens that uh, the flow starts to flow through our eyes, right? The water flow starts to flow through eyes. And this is again, you can know for that moment that the person is in their astral body, they're in their feeling, in their emotion, in the moment.
Mm.
And the importance of water. Water has or is consciousness, just like we are.
Mm.
We are conscious beings. Water is a conscious being. If you guys haven't checked out, as I mentioned earlier, research of Veda Austin, You can find her, I believe, under VedaAustin.com. That's VEDA Austin.com. And she has done research for the last, I believe, 15 years or so around water, and it's fascinating. And those of you who have watched What the Bleep Do We Know, I believe that was a long time ago, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a talk about water and experiment with water. She took it to a whole nother level
Yeah.
where she has revealed the power of water. One of the experiments she did, and the experiment she does is basically that she puts water into a little petri dish and then imposes either an object over it or under it, or she says a word to it, or she will think a thought during being with that water.
Mm-hmm.
And instantly after that, freezes that petri dish, puts it in the freezer. She pulls it out before the water freezes over completely and takes a picture just with her phone. She doesn't have a microscope or anything, or she hasn't been using one. And she
Mm-hmm.
just takes a picture, and then you'll see the image of what either the object was, or her thought was, or whatever else there is. One of the things that intrigued me quite a bit was that she put a seed of sunflower into the petri dish. Then she took it out and or maybe she put it under, it doesn't matter. And she
Mm-hmm.
froze the water and she pulled it out, and there was a picture of sunflower, not picture of the seed of the sunflower, but a picture of the sunflower. So the water
That's
created the potential of what the seed was carrying. Now go back into your body, and how much water do we have in our bodies? If you don't take a molecular count in a place here, then we're talking about 90% or 95% or whatever it is, 99 maybe. But I think it's about 60, 70% of water that they say
mm-hmm.
that their body has.
Mm-hmm.
So plus, whatever mass, physical, tangible things that there are. So the fluids is predominant in the human body. And if you think about it in the sense of water, water is basically a channel, again, the current through which allows um,
Mm-hmm.
our thoughts, our emotions to
Mm-hmm.
flow through. And so whatever is imprinted through through your mental body, through your astral body, through your physical body, whatever you touch, whatever you think, whatever you feel, is
Mm-hmm.
going to make an imprint on your body within you. And either obviously in positive ways, negative ways, doesn't matter which ways it is, but just know that that's what's happening anyway.
Right.
And with that in mind, keep in understanding in your back of your mind that what you're putting, as we spoke about before, is like whatever the frequency vibration that you're putting into your brain, into your heart, what you're understanding, that's what you're going to give out because that's what's within you. Okay. So water is an extremely important element, as we know, keeps us alive. Not that the other elements don't, they all do. We'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about more of them in the next podcast. But in the meantime, I wanted to give you something to think about and to look up that research for sure. There's a lot of interviews with Veda on YouTube, so take a look at some of those as
Mm.
well. So
I wanted to point out too, and I correct me if I'm wrong. I looked at you shared it with me, and I've looked at some, but am I not mistaken that she began this after an accident?
yes,
Was there a so I just wanted to sort of bring that in again. So here, she is, but it was a pretty horrific, I believe, like
yes,
life
it was
threatening.
a fatal accident that she was
Yeah.
in, and she was
Yeah.
the only one that came out alive out of it. And water was very important in her healing.
Yeah.
So the story alone that she talks about is fascinating, and
Yeah.
how the different pH of water also matters, whether it's a spring water versus tap water. And
Mhm.
just to say flat
Right.
out, don't drink tap water. There's all sorts of stuff in
Yeah.
there that you should not be putting into your body.
Right.
So yeah, that was super
Yeah.
important. Again, the car crash she
Mhm.
survived, and yeah,
Yeah. Crisis,
opportunity.
knowledge, and blessing. Look at what she created. Would she have done that without it? Maybe. Maybe.
Probably not. Maybe.
Gratitude, grace, like
Mhm.
what carried her into doing something with it?
Hmm.
Gratitude.
Hmm.
Gratitude for her life, because if she didn't have gratitude for her life, then why would she go on to do something so spectacular
Hmm.
that helps the body to heal and to share it with the world and heal the world through her experience? Like, it's everything we're talking about.
A lot of times, what happens with accidents is that, especially when the head injury happens, not ha doesn't happen all the time, but happens a lot. They open
Mhm.
up in their third eye abilities, and they're starting to get a lot of downloads. They start to feel very differently about their life than they have felt before the accident. Now, granted, some people will shut off even more after accident, but most people do not. Most people basically start to live their life at that point. And I believe that's something that
Mhm.
happened to you as well.
Yeah.
Isn't that? Yeah.
Yeah, I had been on this journey and, Wayne Dyer and all the teachers. So I had been in this journey of self for a long time.
Hmm.
But throughout, like in my 20s, had brain injury from riding horses.
Hmm.
And unbeknownst to me, I had my neck. The first thing the neurologist asked me is how long I've been walking around with a broken neck. I didn't know. Yeah, my neck hurt, but it wasn't that bad. So that had all taken place in my 20s.
Hmm.
And then late 20s, early 30s, I started the journey of just into the self. But the surgeries and everything, the big surgeries didn't happen until I was in my 40s. So all of the life experience, all of the learning and the teachings and all of that journey, I mean, literally, my brain was opened up in surgery. And so that allowed everything to start coming out into the open. Everything else before then, it was all in here. Everything
Hmm.
was happening within me. I wasn't sharing it, really outwardly. It was all happening within. So it
Hmm.
like opens, it breaks open. And so that's the blessing in many crises, that break, it rattles us, it shakes things up. And very often in a crisis and we feel shook, we say, oh, I got shook up. I feel scattered. I
Hmm.
feel scrambled. When you're feeling that, it does very much feel like you want to shut it off. Stop it. Oh my God, stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scramble in a mess. And we want to, okay, stop it, bring it to order. If we can allow that with grace and gratitude and allow that, like everything will shift
Hmm.
and sort of come down and find its place. And then once everything is settled, then you go and you can start looking at specific things. But if we stay with it and just be still while everything's sort of kind of falling and coming into place, then it becomes tangible.
Hmm.
Now we have the presence of mind because we've been open in all that we've done, all of our life experience, many things that are happening unbeknownst to us. We're gaining knowledge and wisdom every single day. All the time of our lives is
Hmm.
coming in.
Hmm.
Now it can come out and it's there for you. Everything, we hear it all the time. Oh, it's within you. The answers are within you. It's all inside. Well, it is. But
Hmm.
sometimes it takes the break and the scramble because what isn't needed, it's going to fade away and roll away. But in the chaos, when the storm's happening, like
Yeah.
once it's done,
Yeah.
you have the presence of mind to then look at what all the debris and say, okay, this is garbage. This is salvageable. We know where to put everything.
Yeah.
But if we try to place everything when we're in chaos or panic, panic is never the time to make decisions on what stays, what goes, what's happening.
Yeah.
Wait until it settles. Then you'll have the presence of mind and that calm to then know, yes, it's still hard work to clean up. And it's emotional and it's sad and because all of the things are happening. But just wait, just stay until the storm stops.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all the beautiful
Mm.
thoughts and shares that you have let us have here. And
Thank you
it's
for having me.
yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. It's always such a joy to chat with you and be in this space. Feels very sacred for myself, and I trust that it comes across in these podcast videos, and that
Mhm.
a lot of you out there will enjoy that as well. I trust there's a lot of things that you have captured for yourself that made sense to you, and that you're going to work very diligently to apply in your life every day.
Yeah, and I would encourage too, like anybody listening, tell us if you want to talk more about something or hear something different. We'd love to know how everybody feels. Yeah. Mm.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having the next discussion where we'll go over a little bit of the mental body again, mind construct. We've already talked about a little bit, meaning of life, and why do we need to have understanding of the mental body for ourselves. So how does it help us in our life?
Mm.
So if that's something that might interest you, stay tuned. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Until
you.
then. Thank you so much again for joining us for today's session. And if you enjoyed the session, like it, subscribe, hit that bell button. Give us some comments below if you're interested. Let us know what resonates with you. Let us know if there's something specific you would like us to go over, talk about. And we will look forward to the next episode where we will cover the mental body processes and talk about the meaning that we give to our everyday life situations that we perceive through our unique lens. So, looking forward to seeing you guys next time. And until then, peace, blessings to all of you. Take good care.